The battle in America is between two ideas or notions, and it is the Lordship of Jesus Christ versus the authority of the state or Caesar. And that's really always been the question. Even in Christ's day, in the Gospels we see that the issue is always framed around what allegiance do we owe to Caesar, what are our duties, and what allegiance do we owe to Christ. And really Romans 13 gives us the parameter or the filter by which we are to judge our actions in this way. Romans 13 declares what kind of civil magistrate or what kind of elected official is authored or endorsed by God. And it says that this kind of civil magistrate, be he a monarch, a king, a parliamentarian, a congressman, a president, he must affirm God's law, and he must punish wickedness and affirm and even reward righteousness. That's the kind of civil magistrate we are to obey. However, if the civil magistrate becomes tyranny to God's ways, and in fact punishes righteousness and rewards wickedness, Christians, by virtue of their call to obey God's law, word, in every jot and tittle, by His grace, Christians must be resolved to resist tyranny and to stand against such injustice. While there was no implicit call to revolt or to resist the tyranny of Rome by Paul, the fact that he gave us that filter in Romans 13 actually was a defense of the civil disobedience of the early church. The very preaching of the gospel, the serving of Christ as the Lord of the nations, as He being God alone and not the Caesar cult, that was an act of civil disobedience. That's the reason why the Christians were persecuted and hounded and sent to the catacombs and put into the Colosseums in the fierce competition and the persecutions of imperial Rome. It was the fact that they were not obeying the Caesar cult. And so Romans 13 is a defense of the gospel, yes, but when we act upon the gospel, when we preach the gospel, when we live the gospel, it is inevitably going to bring us in conflict with Caesar, or the state that would be God. Now, we look throughout the book of Acts and we see the apostles, the diaconate, and simple Christians being brought before civil magistrates, giving an account for their faith, and the Apostle Paul is one of these. And the question comes down to, when it's Christ versus Caesar, is it better that we obey God and His law, or man? And that really is the issue between Christ and Caesar. And on that there can be no neutrality. If we consistently live the gospel, preach the gospel, demonstrate the gospel, even the idea of rescuing babies. The early church were taking abandoned babies, the babies that were left under the bridge abutment to die by Roman paganism. They were taking them as their own, adopting them and raising them in the faith. That was against Roman law. And so a true gospel expression will always bring us into conflict, not with the civil magistrate that God ordains, but with the civil magistrate who seeks to dethrone God and become God Himself.